Hey Matt, hey Emma, hey Brandon, it's Bro Flamingo from Las Vegas.
Hey, bro, Flamingo.
Hey,
Hey, oh no,
I've
hey
always like to
Brandon,
talk
big
about.
fan. A couple of things. First, I guess the most obvious thing is the Derek Chauvin. I'm happy about it, but then what? We had like two other police killings happen right after the verdict, and it just goes to show that a lot of work has to be done. But I do think like the cynical take is like, look, they knew. The cynical take is like, look, they knew. I mean, the guy was obviously guilty, right? But they also knew, it's like, hey, we're gonna sacrifice this guy to the wolves because at the end of the day, what I'm saying, like, there's a lot of pressure on this, but at the same time, like all you guys were saying, is to placate the public, and I think that the system has to be like not abolished, but or even reformed, but it's just based on white supremacy, and that's the problem. And I think a lot of these police departments are just white supremacist factories at this point, like literally just turning out white supremacists, even if it's quote unquote good cops, but they're usually murdered, turned away, fired, demoted, whatever, blah, blah, blah. People who go in there, they come out with these racist attitudes. And even in the 2006 FBI report, they talked about how white supremacists are infiltrating these police departments. I just think at the end of the day, like, because when I called in last time, Matt, I talked about like a denazification program, but there's got to be something, or like a task force or something to really start rooting out like the white supremacist problem in this country. Like I'm no sociology expert or anything, but I mean, at the core of every leftist thing that we want to, every leftist agenda that we want to do, white supremacy stands at the core of the problem, at least in the context of America. And I think the police is at the crossroads of many of these things, because it's just like, especially police unions, by the way, police unions are just nothing but like criminal enterprises at this point. But these like basically these police departments are literally just like right wing radical, like a radical terrorist centers, in my opinion, in ostensibly blue states. You get what I'm saying? And these things really have to be dismantled at some point, because let's just be honest. Like, I think let's just be honest. It's like at the heart of these things, it's not about police reform. It's not about more training. It really is just racism. It really is just stone cold racism. At least other systems in our country can hide moral relativism and situational ethics, but at the police department, it's really just stone cold racism, and the justice system. By the way, it's a color coded justice system. Your thoughts, guys?
No, that's absolutely spot on. I don't want to interrupt you actually, because you were on a roll there. I mean, there's so much to unpack there, honestly, because you do have at its core a lot of law enforcement is made up of white supremacists, open white supremacists. I'm not even talking about like, because this is a whole other aspect of, when people think of white supremacy, a lot of people in this country think like, the KKK or skinheads, they have to be sig hailing through the streets or something, or they need the tattoos or something. No, like, you don't have to be an active member of some sort of white supremacist organization to be a white supremacist or even to uphold white supremacy. But, that I feel like I don't even want to take away from the fact that there are, though, many people in law enforcement who are exactly what I described, the racist skinheads, the KKK type members. It's bad. And I mean, we've seen that this is not just law enforcement, this is in our military as well. I mean, I mean, there would be a huge, and this would be good, obviously, but if you would to fire every like white supremacist in law enforcement, you would like the numbers would be hit. Like it wouldn't be like such a small percentage that like there wouldn't be that much of a big difference. Like I think you'd have police like departments across this country completely like decimated, honestly.
Right, and also one more thing, and I'll jump. Brandon actually brought up something very, very interesting, where he made the parallel between law enforcement and kind of our foreign policy. And I'd like you guys to unpack this, because what I was thinking when he was talking about that was, along with the foreign policy, I think the foreign policy leg kind of got cut out first, where there's almost no more organic constituency for these foreign adventures anymore. It's really been kind of hollowed out. It's been exposed. It's been discredited. But there's still this vocal, powerful elite that kind of upholds this foreign policy leg, but it's just thoroughly unpopular. I feel like the same thing is happening with the police, where there's almost no organic. I remember back in 2014, 2015, I had to fight every Back to Blue crash dummy on my timeline. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, holy shit, what the fuck? Sorry, what is this about? However, but I feel like even now, just the broader support for the police is just gone. It's nothing but, there's no organic constituencies. It's just a bunch of just white supremacists, own the lid types, alt-right groypers, whatever. You get what I'm saying? I feel like they're kind of organic and advantage too. Anyways, guys, I love what you guys do. Left is best. Take care, Brandon. Take care of everybody.
Take care. Great call. Great call.
Thank you for the call.
Sometimes there's those calls where it's just like, you gotta let the caller talk, because they're on a roll. They got points to make, and that was one of them. I love those calls.
Well, I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Just to touch on his last point, I think he's right in drawing the parallels between the sort of constituency that exists for our forever wars at home and also abroad. I think the constituency for like the war in Iraq and the war on terror, it waned away, under the Bush era, after the Iraq war, went on forever, after it wasn't, a quick and easy war that had us, lauded as like liberators. And, we never saw any real consequences for that, because the Obama administration kind of like whitewashed over the whole event. And so it seems easy to believe that wars are popular here. But no, I mean, even Trump rode in the Republican primary on a wave of sort of like Iraq regret. Iraq and Afghanistan, and just general like wasteful spending regret that he tapped into in the Republican Party as well. It's just oftentimes that kind of pro-jingoistic, pro-imperialistic take is put in a black box, because like the politicians and their funders agree with it. So we don't often have the ability to disagree with it, directly on legitimized political media platforms, because it's assumed that we have to have a kinetic military, because that's the only way to keep America safe. The only way to keep America safe is to have military bases in every other country in the world, which is uniquely American. In terms of the police constituency, I think it's important to remember that the underlying logic of the police for most Americans is not that they need police in their communities to protect them from something, but that there is a community out there that needs police in it to keep them safe from the other, to keep them safe from the others. Most people in America don't want to be policed personally. And it just so happens that some people aren't subject to direct policing very often. And so now what it seems like, maybe policing is waning in popularity. It's going to wax and wane as, BLM becomes covered in more by the media and becomes covered less by the media, as, things like that occur. But I think that what people are being presented with a lot more than they used to is the direct reality that policing is something different than what they believed prior to, last summer, if that was their wake-up call, or the summer before that, or any number of these incidents that keep occurring. Because now it's like, now policing is not a thing that happens somewhere else and, to keep me safe. It's a thing that terrorizes every community in America. And so I think, for the large part, people, and to go to sort of drawing your point on racism, people are sold that they need police. Their police are justified in America on the back of a very racialized criminal narrative, that there are just roving bands of Black people who rove around America, a la escaped slaves, who will make this place dangerous, uniquely dangerous than any other country in the developed world in people's minds, because no other country has the number of police, militarized police that we do. And that's just the reality.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point about how I went to school with people who did, frankly, way more illegal activity in high school than I did, and had sort of fuck cops attitude and all that stuff. And then when I saw their attitudes towards the Dakota Access Pipeline, and all of a sudden they were very pro cop all of a sudden when you add the sort of like scary racialized other.
I think you can also think about it in the sense of like, people get caught up online in the conversation about like, well, how police kill more Black people per capita than they kill white people, or police kill a lot more white people in totality every year than they kill Black people. In reality, the police kill more white people in America than the police in any other white country kill white people at a rate way higher than that. And so the question becomes like, how many Black people in America do the police have to kill to be allowed to kill as many white people as they do? Because that's really the reality of America. It's just like white supremacists think it's an own to say like, well, police actually shoot a lot of white people here. It's like they do. And the reason they're allowed to is because occasionally, well, not occasionally, at a very high rate actually per capita, they also kill Black people. And in countries where they don't have as many Black people to kill, the police actually also don't kill as many white people. And so white people just become like, for, an externality of that racist system in many ways. Well, poor white people do.
Right.
And to add to that, they always say too, like you don't see white people protesting or rioting when a white person gets shot by police. Well, I mean, you guys are cheering them on. That's why it's happening. Like, what you should be angry when anyone gets killed by the police. Like, why aren't you mad? Makes me angry.
Other people being like cucked by the police is none of my business. I just think it's like, it's sad. It's sad that in this country that, not even just with police violence, but with general social services like Medicare for all, like any number of things that other countries in Europe have that we're not allowed to have, forget being communist or socialist, whatever, the underlying logic is always allowed to be, well, there are some brown people in this country who might benefit from it when they don't, quote unquote, deserve it. And so I think America is unique in its ability to deny its people basic resources, regardless of race, just by nature of the racist narrative that this country is promoted on.